It was the kind of day that felt like the whole village was holding its breath. The market was quieter than usual. The birds circled overhead like something strange was in the air, and I had a front row seat to what would be the most unbelievable, hysterical, and downright jaw-dropping story you'll ever hear. Let me start with this. Have you ever seen a man on the brink of losing everything? Well, this was Rafik, the village cobbler, on that day. The poor man was on his last coin, his shop barely standing with just a few battered shoes on the shelf. But here's the kicker, Rafik had no idea his life was about to take a wild, magical turn that would make me, and anyone else who witnessed it, question our sanity. You see, Rafik wasn't just any cobbler. He was known for his jokes, his easy laugh, and his ridiculous stories that nobody ever believed. But beneath all that humor, there was something else, jealousy. He envied the rich merchants who passed by in fine robes, their sandals sewn from the most expensive leather. And Rafik had one enemy above all, Mustafa, the wealthiest merchant in the village. They had a history, one steeped in betrayal and the kind of rivalry that would make your skin crawl. One afternoon, as the sun began to dip in the sky, an old beggar shuffled into Rafik's shop. His clothes were in tatters, but his eyes, they sparkled with something not quite human. He carried a small bundle under his arm, wrapped in cloth so old it seemed like it would disintegrate at the touch. "I need you to fix this," the beggar said, his voice barely a whisper. He handed over a pair of shoes so worn out they were practically dust. Rafik raised an eyebrow. "This? You're better off walking barefoot, old man. Even my magic can't fix this." But the beggar only smiled. "Oh, but what if I told you there is magic that could? Now, I don't know about you, but if someone tells me they have magic that can fix a pair of shoes, I'm out." Not Rafik, though. His eyes lit up, as if he knew this was the break he had been waiting for. "I'm listening." The beggar leaned in, unwrapping the cloth to reveal a spool of thread. But this wasn't just any thread, it shimmered with a golden hue, glowing even in the dim light of Rafik's shop. "This," said the beggar, "is magic thread. With it, you can repair anything, but you must be careful. It will bring you great fortune, but only if your heart remains pure. Should you let greed or hatred into your heart, the thread will betray you." Now, you'd think a warning like that would give anyone pause. But not Rafik. His mind was already spinning with ideas of wealth, revenge, and, oh, yes, what he could do to Mustafa with this thread in his hands. "Deal," Rafik said, not bothering to ask any more questions. He took the thread eagerly and watched as the beggar disappeared into the fading daylight, his shadow stretching unnaturally long behind him. The first pair of shoes Rafik repaired with the thread. A miracle. They looked brand new, almost like they'd just come from the finest shop in the kingdom. Word spread fast, and soon, the villagers were lined up outside his shop, each holding shoes that looked beyond hope. At first, Rafik followed the beggar's advice. He walked with humility, mending shoes and laughing with the villagers. His fame grew, and soon even the wealthy merchants came to him, offering large sums for his miraculous work. But the money started to change him. He wanted more than just shoes and sandals. He wanted to be the richest, the most respected, the most feared man in the village. And then there was Mustafa. Now, I'd heard the stories about their rivalry, how Rafik had once been promised Mustafa's sister's hand in marriage, only for Mustafa to step in and marry her off to some rich prince. It was the kind of drama that kept the whole village talking for years. Rafik had never forgiven him, and the jealousy burned in his chest like a fire. So, when Mustafa swaggered into Rafik's shop one day, holding a pair of boots so fine they might as well have been made of gold, Rafik saw his chance. "Rafik, I hear you're the man to see," Mustafa said, a smirk playing on his lips. "Fix these boots for me, will you? And maybe I'll recommend you to some friends." Rafik grinned, but there was no joy behind it. Of course, Mustafa. Anything for you. But as soon as Mustafa left the shop, Rafiq's smile vanished. He grabbed the magic thread, his mind racing. What if, just what if, he could use this thread to get back at Mustafa once and for all? He sewed the boots carefully, his hands working the magic thread through every stitch. But this time, his heart wasn't pure. His mind was filled with thoughts of betrayal, of revenge, and of seeing Mustafa humiliated. When Mustafa returned to pick up his boots, Rafiq could hardly contain his glee. "Here they are, friend. They'll fit you perfectly," Rafiq said, barely holding back laughter.